Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, a.k.a. the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. This week, we have the RealBnB, Gary and Cameron on. And then on my side of the couch, I have Dre. Thank you guys for being on.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely.
I'm excited. I feel like this was a long time coming. The RealBnB is a company that we work with as Moss Marketing Group. And I feel like it's turned into a very cool relationship. And I'm always very intrigued to everything you guys are doing. And I feel like you guys are killing it in the space. And the RealBnB is a company that helps manage Airbnbs, correct?
Correct.
And you also do all the cleaning services and pretty much make it towards a turnkey service that no one has to really sweat anything, right?
Exactly. We make it as easy as possible for our clients. So our whole thing is to keep it hands off for them so they can keep investing in what they want to invest into.
Very cool. I feel like that's a very unique business model. There's very few people around here doing that also. I don't know about Coastal and things like that, but I feel like in Kansas City, not a lot of people think about something like that. What made it to where you guys cross paths to come up with saying, hey, we're going to manage Airbnbs?
Well, Cameron and I were coworkers, and he brought the idea to me. He was like, hey, I'm interested in starting an Airbnb. Would you be interested in starting one with me? And I was like, well, let's look into it. So we started one. We went and got a credit card to limit our upfront investment, and we found an apartment that was willing to let us sublet a unit. And we used that the credit card had it was like an $8,000 balance on it. And we went to a furniture store. We bought all of the furnishings, the decor. We furnished this unit. We got it going. And I remember specifically every single night we would get a booking and we would just call each other, man, we just got a booking. Like, that's amazing. Doesn't matter. It's only $60. We got a booking, right? And then we started, getting more in tune with it, doing some research on YouTube and talking to different people, and got better at coming up with the price plan. And here we are 3 years later. I mean, we started with one unit in, September of 2019, right before COVID. And here we are a little over 3 years later. And between our personal units and units we manage for people, we have grown our business to about 55 units. And it just starts with getting people to trust us and us show them what we did and showing them the potential. And it's gone from there. It's grown like fire.
I feel like it's pretty crazy on how fast things transform and really elevate. And when you started with that one, what did that transition look like into number two? Because I know a lot of times people look at these grand numbers of companies, and I talk to a lot of business owners. It's the same thing when they say that first $1 million is the hardest million you'll ever make. I feel like it's probably something very similar. That first Airbnb property you had was probably the hardest one that you had. And what did that transition look like to 2 to 3 to that first 10?
Well, real quickly, we learned. So on the first one, we overspent. I mean, we probably spent like $10K in furnishings on this little one-bedroom apartment. It was almost like a studio. But, when we took that same budget of $10,000 and put it into 2 new units. So we actually went from 1 to 3 right away. And, what we did was just kind of snowballed it. We weren't taking any money out. We just kept reinvesting, and hopefully to just, keep growing. It just kind of got out of control of growing for a while there. And then, we just had people start coming to us. Hey, can you manage property for us? Hey, what are you doing? I got this property over here just sitting here, and there's nothing for me to do with it. I have a long-term rental in there, and I'm only making about $100 a month after all my expenses. It's like, oh, wow, that property on Airbnb would make about an extra $1,000 a month.
That's, I think a lot of people probably don't understand. Explain the difference between long-term rental, short-term rental, and what that looks like as an individual that owns a home, because I talk to a lot of people that have a lot of long-term rental. And when you say the term short-term rental, I feel like there's an older generation out there that's not even really understanding what the short-term rental space looks like. So what does that space look like? Is Airbnb the only avenue to rent them? Is there other platforms? What does that look like? If I had a long-term rental and you were speaking on short-term rental, what does that look like? What's that difference?
So there's 3 different types of rentals. There's short-term rental, mid-term rental, and then long-term rental.
I was missing one.
But so long-term rental, that's like sign a 12-month, 24-month lease, somebody's in there, and they live there. Well, mid-term rental is you have a furnished place. You got somebody who's coming in for 2 or 3 months, needs a place to stay, and they're paying instead of paying, let's just say $1,200. We'll just do an example. Let me start over. So we're going to use a long-term rental. What's an example you have for a long-term rental? Do you know anybody that has like a 3-bedroom? How much is that rent?
I know someone has a place in Kearney. It's a $200,000 house. I think they rent it out for like $1,500, $1,600 a month.
So $1,500 a month on a long-term rental. So that long-term rental is only making them $1,500. So say their mortgage is like $1,200, miscellaneous expenses, and then so they're probably left over with $100. So then you got a mid-term rental. So same thing. Let's just say it's a 3-bed, 2-bath. You furnish that, and you get somebody in there for like $3,000 a month or $4,000 a month.
You can get that on a midterm rental?
Yes, you can.
Easy. How hard is it to find that midterm rental clientele?
Obviously, it's a little more challenging than a short term and a little more challenging than a long term. It's kind of like the in-between, but it's kind of a nice sweet spot to be in because you got this furnished house. You got somebody coming in for business. We use Airbnb, VRBO, our personal website. We use our awesome marketing company. We
didn't even pay him to say that.
Good plug.
But it's challenging to find them sometimes. But a lot of the time they just find us like, oh, I love your house. I want to rent it for 60 days because I'm coming into town for work or I'm going to school, things like that. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity in there. We've actually explored midterm rentals. We have about 5 of them now, and they're doing fairly well. Like we have one in the Northland that was doing about $5,000 a month consistently. 3-bed, 2-bath, finished basement.
Wow. Typically, the midterm, what we target are those individuals. So like we have people that come into town to stay at hospitals. Here in the Kansas City area, we have the Children's Mercy, we have the Ronald McDonald, different things like that. We have people coming in to do internships. We have people coming in, like we have a set of construction workers that come in on a regular basis. They probably rent a home from us about a month at a time, every other month or so. We typically, in North Kansas City, there's the Ford plant. So your midterm rentals are typically people that are here for a particular reason. And it is a niche market, right? So, I mean, to Cameron's point, that is the in-between where you typically, and for those that are in an area where maybe short-term rentals aren't allowed, maybe it's harder to get a permit or your neighbors are going to fight you and it's just you don't want to put the time into getting it approved. A midterm is a way to circumvent all of the red tape. It is a way that you'd be able to make that extra income, typically 2 to 3 times more what you would make on a long-term rental. And you don't have to worry about all of the regulations that are involved with the short term.
So you get out of those regulations on midterm?
Yes. You do. Most cities consider a long-term rental over 30 days. So
did not know that.
If you go into, no matter where you're at, Kansas City, Liberty, Overland Park, anywhere, midterm rental, 30 days or more, you're kind of golden. And we have people, for example, we have somebody who furnished a whole house for short-term rental. This is literally right now. After this podcast, I'm actually going to go put their property online. But he furnished the house, and he was waiting in the city. Well, he went to the city, and all the neighbors showed up and, like, kind of protest it. I don't want you to do a short-term rental. We don't like it. This is they have an HOA and everything, so it was like crazy. Well, he got denied. The city denied him his permit. So, we just pivoted to a midterm rental. And it's a super nice house. It's a brand new build, never even lived in.
Wow. That's that I think is just adapting in market that I feel like there's so many regulations on everything. And before this podcast, I've never even heard of a midterm rental. Like I was like, they have short-term rental, long-term rental.
Or you stay at a hotel for a while.
And the cool thing about midterm rental, you're usually protected. You know, long-term rental comes in, they tear your place up. You got like $5,000 to $10,000 on cosmetic repairs, whether it's paint, flooring, carpet, whatever it is. Well, midterm rental, you're usually protected. There's some type of insurance in place depending on where they're booking, and they're not going to tear it up. They're going to take care of it. They're there for 2 months, and then a professional cleaning company comes in and cleans. So it's usually a really good in between.
And to be honest, for our midterms, we typically require that they take at least one clean throughout the month, like every 2 to 3 weeks, just so that we can go in and make sure that it's being taken care of. And I think one of the biggest misperceptions of a short-term rental is that they can create more harm or trouble than what a long-term tenant would bring, right? And the way I try to get everyone that I speak to think about that is, think about this. When you get a long-term tenant, regardless of what the contract says, how often do you know that the landlord literally goes over and checks to make sure that they're not having parties, to make sure that they're keeping up their lawn, to make sure that they're not trashing the inside of the place, right? Whereas with this, I mean, even in the midterms, again, we ask that every 2 to 3 weeks they allow us to come in and clean. So we make sure that they're taking care of the property. We make sure that it's in pristine condition, it's taken care of. It allows us to report to our insurance or Airbnb immediately anytime there's any damage, so that we can make sure the house is taken care of. With it being short-term and midterm, it also allows us the ability to, if there's a party, we go over there and we evict those individuals immediately so that they're not continuing to disturb you and your family if you're a neighbor. And as an owner, you're not going to have to worry about the neighbors complaining to the city. And what I could tell you is that what we put in place as far as the safety measures and protocols, in the 3.5 years we've been operating, we've had 2 parties, which over 3.5 years is not a bad track record.
I feel like
right?
there's not very many parties.
and when I say that, I mean, we've had people come in for like bridal showers. We've had people come in for graduations. But when I say we've had 2 parties, we've had 2 parties that have required us to intervene. And both of those, within a 30 to 45-minute period, we were able to get there with the local authorities and get those people evicted and get it under control. So it really 100% goes into who your management company is and how involved they are.
I know a lot of people want to do it themselves, but I don't think they really realize the stuff that goes into actually managing it.
Oh, it's crazy.
What is like a single property? What's that management look like from, I want to Airbnb my house? As an individual, if I had to take a step-by-step, how would I do that compared to giving it to you guys?
Contact the RealBnB. No.
no, but
That easy.
Seriously, the first off thing I would do is get a management company. There's a lot to go into it. A short-term rental is almost like a full-time job. You get 2 or 3 houses. That is a full-time job. You're messaging guests constantly, 24/7. They're calling 24/7. That needs cleaned after every guest comes in. You could have a same-day check-in, check-out. So somebody checks out today, somebody else is checking in today. That has 5 hours to be cleaned before they check in.
Which I think so many people jump in to think like, oh, that sounds easy, I'll do that. And we were just talking before this started that we're looking at buying property and getting Airbnbs going and all this, but I have zero desire to manage that. Like, we run all the marketing stuff we run. I don't want to, we have been around you guys on content days and things like that, and it is just nonstop. I'm like, I don't know how they do it. And then it's also, you have so many people that are like, I'm just going to grab 2 Airbnbs and just make some be my side hustle. It turns into they have 2 full-time jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's crazy.
It's so what, like Dre was saying, what is A, B, C that goes into your management process?
Well, first thing we like to do is go out and make sure the house is good. We used to just take any client. Oh yeah, we'll do that. Now we're like very picky. We're all right. Is this a good house? Is it going to represent our brand? We're kind of moving towards like luxury.
You guys have some badass
higher
houses.
We're moving to higher end. Yeah, you just have to. So what we do is go make sure the property's good. We talk with them. Are they wanting to furnish it? Are they wanting us to furnish it? Because we do that. We're a one-stop shop. We'll furnish the house. We'll do it all.
That is an option?
That's an option.
I feel like that's a pretty big,
I didn't know that.
like, big piece of it where there's so many people that think they're interior designers. I feel like every, like, fourth person you meet is an interior designer. Like, I have great interior design. You look at their house, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? But you guys have houses that are very, like, catering to a very broad, like, audience.
Exactly.
That I could see it and I'd be like, that makes sense for, like, this person to like, this person to like, and this person to like. Not just very catered to, like, one market.
We've looked at some of your places. I'm like, I would love to stay there. And he looks at me, he's like, not a chance. He's like, not a chance. I'm like, that is straight up my alleyway. I'm like, I would love that.
When he says that's the Marvel one, like,
Well, the hardest
just going to call me out like that.
the hardest part though, when people think that they can furnish their own, and I don't want to say that people can't. We've had some clients that have done I'll say a decent job, especially considering it was their first or second Airbnb, right? But the one thing we always try to advise our clients is the same thing we went through when we first started is you're going to overthink it, right? You're going to spend way more than what you need to spend because your natural instinct is to buy things that you like. So like you, Dane, for example, I mean, it'd be like, no, there's no way. But at the end of the day, you got to stop and think.
You're not on the
I guarantee you, Marriott and Hilton don't think about you when they furnish their hotel rooms. No. And that's the hardest part is to disconnect yourself and to realize and for anyone that's even thinking about investing or using their home for an Airbnb, one of the things, one of the people that taught us the most, I think in terms of this market is on YouTube, Sean, and I'm probably going to destroy his name, Rakovich or something like that. But the one thing he said that has stuck with me from the beginning is, once you decide to put your house on the market as an Airbnb, you have to stop thinking of it as your house. It's now an investment property, right? And I think that's one of the biggest things is for people to just get out of their head and realize that they're not furnishing it for themselves. And we used to furnish them. We used to go buy the furniture. We used to set it up, spend hours. We're now at a level where, we have a team that assembles. We have a team that'll go buy the furniture and that'll stage the furniture. We've gone through our share of actual interior decorators, and she did an amazing job. There's a lot of work that goes into it and a thought that goes into it. Because the last thing you want to do is go in and spend $20,000 on something that should have cost you $6,000 because now it's taken you 3 times longer to get your return on investment, right? And that's what we specialize in. We tell our clients our main goal is to have you back at break even within 12 to 15 months. And from that point, you're making most of our clients are seeing an ROI well over 16 to 20%.
And that's within 12 to 15 months.
Exactly.
That's huge. Because I feel, most of the time, safe investment is...
I think like 9.
9, 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so, 16 to 20, I'd take that all day long. Yeah. And I feel like most...
Let me give you my property. So if I'm on vacation, would you rent my house out for the week I'm gone?
That's not something we would do just because, that's a lot of work to go into it. Again, that's your house. It's different when you.
It's non-investment.
We specialize in investment properties. Or I'm moving. I have my house. I want to make it an investment property. That's different.
Yeah, because you're going to have a closet full of clothes. You're going to have a garage full of personals. That would be a lot of work. If you wanted to live like a transient, and you went out of town for however long, we would definitely work with you. But it's definitely not something you want to do with your true personal property.
What would you tell someone that I am customer X and I want to go buy a property. What does my line look like? And do you guys manage anything on like the finance side of it? Like, I would say advise on how to use those properties against themselves to pull equity out, to buy more property, to get more property within your guys' portfolio. Do you guys do anything on that forefront?
You know, we'll give some advice, but we'll refer them to like somebody we know that
Gotcha.
specialize more in that.
Gotcha.
We know a couple of bankers and loan officers that could help them out with that. But we definitely know and we advise on things like that. Yes,
because I definitely think in like the space that you're in, when it becomes an investment side and you're buying property, you have equity in it, and you're pulling that equity out to buy more property to scale that because it is returning 16 to 20%. Most people that are investing money would say scale that as fast as possible. Like, you want that money coming back. So every time you're breaking back to even, keep throwing it back in.
Exactly. We have a couple of clients that are just keep snowballing it. Like I said in the beginning, that's how me and Gary got started. And we have a couple of clients that are just snowballing it. They come to us, oh, I have this property, I have this property, I have this property. Again, you want to make sure, I think we talked about this before the podcast, is you want to make sure that you're in a good area that's permitted.
Yep.
Permits is a big thing. So you just don't want to jump into investment and say, oh, I'm going to go buy this property. Hey, manage this. Whoa, we need to look at permits first. Going back to the steps you talked about earlier, one of the first things to do, hey, can we get a permit in this area? Yes or no? If it's a yes, okay, then we'll move forward. We actually help get permits. You know what? In Kansas City, you need the neighbor signatures. If you don't want to do it, there's a fee. We'll go do it for you.
That's something that I didn't even think about. Like, Mass and I were like this close to pulling the trigger on a house that we went and walked through recently. We're walking through, and I was like, we could Airbnb this. This would be a great house where I could think about it. And it had multiple offers on it. And I'm really glad now that I didn't even think about permits being an option. I was just thinking, you buy anything, it can be an Airbnb. Like, that is my process, like my thought process when I'm looking at property now, is I have completely shifted off the idea of even buying another house for us personally. Like, we've thought about selling our house, buying a bigger house, whatever, and I have backed off that thought process of I want to start buying a lot more property and having Airbnbs everywhere and doing this. And when you start thinking that way, permits is something that is such a huge factor that how many people mess up on that one thing. You were talking about having some denied in a certain area.
We've had some denied. We've had one shut down before because it didn't have a permit. It's serious. If you don't have a permit, the city will shut you down.
Does that person just go back to a long-term rental?
So they
midterm.
So that's
Good
the workaround.
point.
So what you do is you move it into a midterm rental.
So, and what I'll throw into that is, to Cameron's point, working with your management company. So, anyone listening to us, we're obviously national. Our bigger presence is here in Kansas City. But, to your point, because there's some places that require you actually get the neighbor's signature, right? And if you don't get it, you could be shut down if you decide to risk it. And this individual did. He spent I want to say it was close to $30,000 furnishing this home to turn around and get shut down in 4 months. And fortunately, he had some other homes that he was buying that could be used as STRs in other areas. But he had to spend, I think it was $10,000-$15,000 paying a moving company to move all of it. So, he's now $45K in, right? There's some places that only require you have a normal landlord permit. So as long as you could do long-term rentals, you go with short-term rentals. There's places like Arizona where the state won't let any city deny you the ability to do an STR. There's places like Tennessee. We're in Nashville. You're not going to do an STR, more than likely. I know there's some places that are grandfathered in, but just making sure that your management company, or you, if you're wanting to try it on your own, is familiar with that, because the last thing you want to do is throw $20,000+ into a property, and unless you're looking for a tax write-off, you don't want to throw $20,000 into a property to turn around and be shut down.
But is that somewhere, say, hypothetically, someone's coming to purchase a house, would they be able to come to you before they put an offer on a house back? Hey, what are my steps on X, Y, and Z? Because this is going to be a business move on making me money. I want to make sure all my ducks are in a row before I buy this house to make sure I can turn this into a short-term rental.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. So, we have clients that come to us now. Hey, I'm looking at this property. Can you tell me a little bit about it? What will it do? We have software that'll tell us, project the numbers on it. Can we get a permit on it? That's a big question. Can we get a permit? Yes, no, yes, we can get a permit. Okay, well, let's move forward. I want to buy this house. So we have clients that come to us beforehand, before even making a purchase, because, again, that's a big purchase.
Well, that was straight up for me because I know it. In the future, Dane and I have talked about it. We're sitting there, we're like, hey, we want to purchase houses in the future, and we've looked at a lot of stuff. I'm like, I feel like this would return good. And then after we were talking earlier, I'm like, that could have been a huge pickle. I don't need 2 houses. But at that point, you could have got screwed on the permit, and that's where I think a lot of people don't get the counties right, where you guys were just talking about how certain counties, even around this area, how they're so different just from south of the river to north of the river.
So I'll give you an example. So Platte County doesn't allow Airbnbs, but Kansas City does. So who's winning?
When you say Platte County, like nowhere in Platte County you have an Airbnb.
So you would think the county would overrule the city, right?
Yeah.
What you would think.
But if you go get your city permit, the Platte County can't say anything to you. Even though Platte County doesn't allow Airbnbs, the city overrules the county.
It's just little quirks like that.
It's like little things like that. I would have never known, until we got a property there and we had to go through the permitting
and
process.
You guys had to figure out the hard way.
We got permitted. We got the property permitted, and the city overruled the county. I was just like, oh, wow. In your mind, you would think, oh, the county's going to overrule the city. Well, no, the city overruled the county.
Would not have expected that.
It's very interesting, and it's very interesting how that worked out. But I mean, it's little things like that. And I mean, to your point earlier, if a potential client were to come to us and ask us, can you tell us if I'd be able to do an STR here? I mean, obviously we would have some questions, right? But if we felt that client was a good fit for us and the potential property they were looking at was a good fit for us, we would definitely do some research for them to kind of help them out, because our goal is, I mean, obviously we would love to have 1 million clients, right? But I would be just as happy with 100,000 clients that had 10 properties apiece, right? I mean, I would rather help our existing clients grow because we already have an established relationship with them. So kind of like Cameron was saying earlier, we're becoming a little more, I want to say that, use the term wiser when it comes to the properties. We're starting to become a little wiser when we vet clients too, because just like with any relationship, it's got to be a good fit, right? But we would definitely be willing to do the work for anyone that we thought would be a good fit with our team.
So talked about kind of like what, like short-term rentals, long-term rentals, mid-term rentals. As business owners, people listening to the podcast, what would you say some of your biggest hurdles? Because I know you guys have scaled very quickly. You have staffing, you have all these other things, and there's so many factors that most people don't take into consideration when starting a business. Being an entrepreneur on these different forefronts, we were just talking about it before, on the amount of money that comes in and money that goes out. Like, it is crazy when you start scaling on how fast money goes out and how to find profit. And what would you say, like, first thing out the gate, what's the biggest hurdle you guys have had to overcome?
The biggest one. Cleaning and laundry. So when we first started, we were 1099 cleaners. Then we started outsourcing cleaners. Well, it's like, oh, well, we can't control cleaning quality. So now, as of now, we have our own W-2 employees that clean for us.
How many of those do you have?
We have...
If you include the ops managers, I want to say we have 12.
12, yeah. I think we have 12 total employees.
That's crazy that you have 12 people that's showing the volume of rentals or the volume of stays that is happening at these properties. Is you have 12 full-time people, and that was something that was like crazy when we first met. That we start, like, we're meeting all these people, and they're like, cleaners. I'm like, they're like, it's just full speed trying to get places cleaned and, like, to get people in and get people out and get people in and get people out. how has that looked like on the hiring process, like retaining people and scale on that forefront?
You're not going to believe this. In the 3 years we've been doing this, I think we've let go 2 employees.
It's pretty impressive.
That's really impressive.
So all the cleaners, they come on. I mean, we pay well. I mean, we're paying good. I mean, you wouldn't think like, oh, a cleaner, $10 an hour. No. Like, try doubling that.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Like,
you're
dude,
going
they're
for
up there.
quality control.
We pay our cleaners so well because we want quality. I don't want an issue with the guest. I don't want an issue with the cleaner. I don't want to even have to worry about it. So our mind is, okay, we're gonna pay our cleaners so good they won't leave. We're gonna take care of them. Just things like that. We do that for all our employees. So we pay all our employees really well so that we have the best quality possible. I'd rather overpay for that than have quality issues.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, one of the biggest misconceptions out the gate starting a business is they want the cheapest employees.
Don't do it. Not worth it.
That's saying
that is signing your own death warrant when you start a company.
It is. That saying that you get what you pay for is more than true across multiple situations.
It is.
Employees are one of them.
I don't think people also understand the cost that goes into employee training. And something I was taught this in the car business a long time ago. The most expensive thing a dealership spends money on is training salespeople.
I believe that.
And you look at the expenses everywhere and you're like, there's no way. But then when you you start looking at these really high paid managers, they're training salespeople for 3 months for this person to leave. Then you have someone else come in. Like, you have guys that are mid 6-figure guys working on training salespeople that end up leaving. Most people are looking at the salesperson's value of leaving and training. What they're not taking into consideration is the 2 mid 6-figure guys that they're wasting all this time on training. I wouldn't say wasting, but I would say spending the time on these individuals that end up leaving, that you think that, like, well, that guy didn't produce much, so I didn't really lose anything.
Well,
But what about that guy? How much of his time did you waste training him?
He spent 20 G's a month training all those people.
Yeah.
That 2 of them left.
And I mean, you got to think about that in every aspect. It's not just training. So, like, we have weekly staff meetings, right? And one thing that I think about, because I am definitely I mean, we're both money guys, obviously, but like I literally overthink things sometimes. And what I think about when we're having staff meeting, even though we're getting what we want out of it, right? We're addressing any issues that need to be concerned. We're thinking of ways to make things better and more efficient. We're doing all of these, but what I'm thinking about in my head is, okay, we got 10 people sitting here at this amount of money, so we're literally spending like $250, $300 an hour to have this staff meeting, right?
And more than that, they'll be off.
You throw them in there, and it's crazy because you're right. A lot of people don't realize, and our training consists of 2 weeks. So we literally have new cleaners as we bring them on side by side with existing cleaners for a 2-week period. So we're basically paying double for that 2-week period for any cleaners that we bring on. But we want to make sure that, because a lot of people would be like, oh, if you know how to clean, you know how to clean. Not necessarily.
No, a lot of people clean different, and that's where you have some where you're like, oh, it's a white glove. And then you have some you're like, whoa. Have you started?
My biggest pet peeve, when so we don't tell the cleaners, we'll just randomly show up and start checking units.
Yeah.
The top of the fridge.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm short. I don't get the top of the fridge.
I remember the first time we went out to a location that you guys have a lot of property at, and we're filming. We've blown through like probably, I don't know, 6 units or something. We hit one of them. Every time we walk into a unit, I see Cameron over the fridge. I'm like, has he seen if somebody like left butter in there or some shit? Like, what is he doing? Like, and then all of a sudden on one of them, I see
going to snag the beer out of the fridge.
one of them, I see that he's over like on the phone. I'm like, and then all of a sudden I'm like, what is he talking about? And he's like getting after someone on the top of the fridge. I'm like, I mean, it makes sense. I'm very much the same way. But yeah, it's just funny like how you become OCD on those things. You want it done correctly. You want it done correctly all the time. But so many people want that exact same thing, but they're not willing to pay for it.
Exactly.
On so many forefronts. And I think that's why I feel like we had a good connection from the first meeting we've ever had. That very much we're numbers people. We're all numbers people sitting on this couch. Like, we understand scalability. We understand growth. We understand, like, compounding money. Like, we understand how it all works. And because of that, like, that's why it all worked out. But it was also, like, the first time we went to film, that's where I was like, yeah, we're working with the right people. Like, because of that like, that was something I remember as clear as it was yesterday.
It's all about quality.
Yeah.
It's all about quality. No matter how much, I tell other people this, spend the extra money on quality. You have to.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? They, like, other business owners look at it as an expense. Oh, well, now I'm losing money. You'll make that money up in the future. Just spend it now.
And let me tell you, the money you lose, you think you're losing by paying those people to take that little attention to detail, is far less than the money you're going to lose when you start getting bad reviews because the guest, right, start seeing that they're paying a cleaning fee, but they're walking into a unit that's not clean.
Yeah.
And because once Airbnb, all of the algorithms are based on guest reviews, obviously, right? And
everything.
So the
everything
minute
on Airbnb, reviews.
So the
reviews are everything.
Yeah, I feel like we're both running like parallel streets on what we do. That somebody can get a lot shittier house for a lot less money. Then get the nice house, has quality control, has all these other things. Like, I don't want to show up to some house with dirty sheets. Like, that makes my skin crawl just thinking about it.
You go to hotels that have dirty sheets and you only know about it.
Like, but it's like you think about these things, and I run the same forefront on marketing. Like, we deal with the exact same thing where people are like, well, this company will do it for this much less. Well, that's because they don't know how to even format a video correctly. They should be less money. But it's just like so many things I feel like on so many business models are so similar that people that want to chase I don't even know what like terminology to use of that person that's chasing for the cheapest price all the time. Those are like the first people when we sit down with them, like, I don't want to work with them. Like, and I feel like you guys are very much too, that you guys have that, once again, luxury premium clientele. And we can definitely see from some of the properties that are coming in the future too. And like some of the stuff that you have, like, you guys are paving a way to a new space that isn't here yet. And I feel like you guys are very soon to own a whole new market, clientele, everything in the next 12 to 18 months that people haven't even seen in the Midwest. That is a market on the coast. And I very much feel the same way as like what we are doing is similar. And, but what do you see scalability in the future looking like? Like, what is that 6, let's go with what's that 1 year goal? What's that 5 year goal?
So I'll start, and Cameron, you can add or change whatever you want to do. But I mean, to your point, Dane, I mean, we have a house coming up that it will hopefully be available in the next 3 months, if not sooner. And it, the value of the home is irrelevant. It's a huge home. It's a home that you would, to be quite honest with you, I don't know how many people listening or whatever are familiar with the show that used to come on MTV called Cribs, but it's right in line with that.
We could maybe do an MMG Cribs there. I could do you guys like a knockoff, and you could be like, hey, this is the RealBnB Cribs, and come check it out.
And I mean, to be
realistic, I think that'd be great marketing.
Seriously, I mean, I really, in my mind, within a year, I would hope to pick up 2, 3, at least 2 or 3 more of those. I don't want to be overly aggressive because those are very.
But I think it's
very rare.
It's rare because it's an unproven market,
right?
And it's very much something that that's why I think that you guys are paving this new path to something that's not here. like you guys know, very much assuming that you're going to be in a market of your own with that property.
It's going to be a combination. We're going to mix it up between the normal, typical Airbnb, short-term rental, depending on the situation, could be potentially a midterm rental. But I think what we probably foresee it being, as we discussed kind of before this, was, be in the Airbnb market with it, right? But also transitioning it to something that can also be used as an event space, something that corporate individuals could take advantage of, and you could actually host like real bridal parties. You could host corporate events. You could host all sorts of things.
Networking events.
Networking.
Yeah.
That's what we talked about before. Is collaborating, getting a huge networking event going on there. That'd be awesome.
And I think that's thinking outside the box, thinking so much bigger that, I live for that stuff, and I feel too many people don't do that. That you guys have an opportunity at your fingertips that you're taking all of it. You're gonna make something so much bigger of it. And the crazy thing's gonna be is after you guys prove that concept on that one here, when you say that you want 4 or 5 more of those, I have a feeling it's gonna come in 10 or 15 more. Because what you're doing is you're getting into a clientele that money becomes so much easier. And this is something that I really struggled learning in the car business, was when I first started and I had somebody that was coming in that wanted $150, $200 payment. It was really easy for me to go close. I didn't think that was a whole lot. Like, I was like, it's $150, $200. Like, not even a care in the world going out trying to close that deal. But then I would have somebody coming in trying to buy a $90,000 vehicle. I'm going out trying to close them on a $1,300 payment. And I'm like shaking as I walk out there. I'm like, how are they going to what are they going to do?
This is your payment.
And then like those people just be like, yep, all right, good. And they sign it and I walk right back. And I'm like, they didn't even say anything. Like,
And they're approved. They're good. They're out the door. Those are the fastest ones right there.
but the thing is, the person that could take on a 1,000, majority of the time, I'm not saying all the time, but the person that was taking on $1,000 car payment, that was 10 times easier for them to take on $1,000 car payment than it was the person that I was negotiating with for $150 to $200.
Agree.
Like, they were budgeting in, I only have enough money to take on a $150 car payment. The person with the $1,000 car payment was making 30-something G's a month. The car payment's irrelevant. They're like, it is what it is. And as I got into business and stuff, I'm like, these people are writing these cars off, depreciation wise. I'm like, that payment really, they did not care.
You get a truck nowadays. It's like, okay, yep, I only bought this because I need a tax write-off.
That was the only income we needed to see. I got others if you need more. I was like,
it wasn't.
Okay.
They weren't payment shoppers either. There was a transition of when I was a payment shopper to when now when I buy a vehicle, I'm like, what's the sales price of the car I'm buying and what are you giving me trading? I don't need to know anything else. I don't care. I'm running it through my own bank. Those are the only 2 numbers that matter.
Well, here's the thing, is if you think about these individuals, and if any of you are listening, feel free to visit us. But you think about these individuals, seriously though, that hire these financial advisors, right? And there's a lot of financial advisors that require minimum investments before they'll even deal with you, right? These wealth advisors, I think most of them call themselves. But really what the investor is looking for is something where they could throw their money in, be hands off, and over a period of time, double, triple, quadruple their money, right? And so think about someone that comes in and buys a $2, $3, $4, $5 million home, and they're making not only the normal 16 to 20% ROI on average from an Airbnb, but then you throw in the fact that we could throw other events, right? We were just talking about before this, there's corporate events where someone may come in and for a night or a weekend, they're like, you know what, I'm going to drop $50,000, $60,000 to host this event at your space. So, you start talking about that. This is really for those individuals that are really trying to find somewhere to invest their money and watch their wealth grow or whatever it is they're trying to do, create that generational wealth. This is perfect for them.
Yeah, and I think it's something that when we talk on that forefront, the person that owns a $2-3 million house, they don't even live in. That's an extra house for them. That house was easier for them to buy than the person that owns a $200,000 house. That they were probably going in and like, this is what they were budgeted out, things of that nature. That person's buying that house as a secondary house. There's a lot more funds all over the place. And they are the ones that are very quick to, if you can show them dollars and cents of this is why it all works, this is how we can scale it. That person that you're getting a house from right now, if you make that work over 6 months, they will go buy another one. They will build another one. And they have the funds to do it. That person that may have just gotten a $200,000 house, like, figured out a way to make it work, things of that nature.
While also still returning a good profit.
With returning a great profit, it is going to be much harder for them to scale it. So that's why my thought process is if you make this one work, the other great thing is that person knows a lot of other people that are also at that Galper. And we've seen that business as we've grown is like as our network grows and the people that we are in contact with, we then get in contact with their network. And it's crazy how similar the network of people are. 100%. And so I just think that is something that you guys are about to embark on a whole new kind of like, there's a lot of the same thing with like Turo here. It's untapped in the high-end car market.
We did Turo. You do Turo too. We did. Somebody wrecked my car.
Hey, everyone can say whatever they want about Turo and high-end cars. One of the highest priced vehicles on Turo is a minivan.
That's not true.
Look it up.
No,
Look
that,
it up.
Not true.
No, it is the big vans, the
Yes.
giant ones.
In Utah,
the 12
Lamborghinis.
passenger vans.
Utah is looking at a new Ferrari, and it was a lot more than the van, bud.
Well, what I'll
Well,
tell
my
you.
Acura was wrecked. It was very sad.
What I'm saying though is like in Turo, Kansas City is like one of the fastest growing like cities in the United States right now. Like it is going crazy here on
It is.
so much they're building. What's a big plant they're building in Kansas?
The chip factory.
No, they're building
They're bringing,
Facebook
They're
plans.
bringing Google. They're bringing all kinds of.
They're
sorts.
bringing all kinds of
The
stuff
Royal
here.
Stadium right downtown.
They're doing the new soccer field.
Yeah.
Like there's so much stuff happening and so much that's being brought here. The cost of living is phenomenal here compared to anywhere else.
currently.
Like, and when you look at that
Currently,
currently, yeah, get in while you can.
buy property.
But when you look at that, like Turo, there's no high end car market here. That is like I've looked at partnering with people to get into that forefront of the high end car rentals. And the high end house rentals is coming right there with it. That you have big business owners and big companies that would spend $50,000, $60,000 for a weekend getaway for their people, with chefs and valets and like having an event with their clients coming in and having full open bars and having all this stuff that business owners really don't have the opportunity of doing here that has been done in Utah and California and Texas and Florida and been doing that stuff there for a long time.
It's more so of what the assistant is doing to the owner, being like, hey, you need to schedule this. What's the least amount of stuff that assistant has to do when they contact you to get that stuff booked?
Yeah. So I have a feeling that you guys are like, I want to have this same podcast in 1 year.
I want to have the same podcast once this event space, this new
We'll do it at that space.
That would be amazing.
yes.
That would be
There we go.
amazing.
That would be cool.
With the fireplace on.
Fireplace on would be like real like majestics.
It would. That would be awesome.
Or in the pool.
Yeah.
I mean,
or
who
in the
knows?
pool. Yeah. We do it anywhere.
Either or. We're open. We're open.
So we talked about kind of what 1 year looked like. What is 5, 10? Like what is the big picture of the RealBnB? Like
I mean, I'm hoping in 5 years we're at, I want to say 500 properties total managing and owning together, but I feel like that might be low for 5 years because we've been like 4Xing
so
the
this
past 3 years. Is that about right?
We have been more than tripling every year. I mean, because if you think about it, so we started We started in
2019.
August of 2019 with one. By
One.
August of 2020, I think we had well over 10, maybe even 12. By 2021, I think we were closer to 25, 26. And here we are in 2022, and we're at 55. But to be honest with you, while we do plan on continuing this particular market, one thing that we're realizing is that the more of this you own, the easier it is to control the quality, to lower the price, those sorts of things. So we're looking at ways to improve our efficiency, such as, so to Cameron's point, we do have an internal cleaning company. So we're also expanding the cleaning company, right, to do several things. But, just in terms of managing property and whether it be a client's or our own, 5 years?
We're going to be everywhere in Florida in 5 years.
So
We're already looking to buy a property in Florida right now.
You did touch on you guys are national, and
Yes.
you guys talk about your quality control. So if you have, say someone listening to this, I'm based in Virginia. I contact you. I want to list my house. How do I know my quality control is going to be the same?
So obviously we'll come out there. We're gonna check the property out. We're going to find the most quality cleaners possible. So we, like in Arizona, we have like search and search and search for the best cleaners. So, we'll pay top dollar for quality. Again, we're all about quality. If we have to overpay a little bit, we will. Because one, we want reviews 5 stars, and we want everything across the board 5 stars. And we're in St. Louis. We're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now.
We're about to be in Texas.
About to be in
Florida.
Texas. Florida, we're looking at a property in Florida right now. What we do is we find quality cleaners, whether we use RealBnB or something, or we go out there and find companies that have really good reviews, things like that. So, and then, we just make sure we have good boots on the ground. While we're growing in St. Louis, 1, 4, 5, 6 properties, then we can hire W-2 employees out there to actually take care of it. Things like that. Have our operations manager maybe fly out there once a quarter to go check on things, walk all the properties, make sure they're being deep cleaned. So that's one way we protect quality. And we make sure the cleaners have to send us photos. If it's like our Milwaukee location, they have to send us photos every time. They have to upload all the photos before, all the photos after. Any claims that need to be made, we do all the claims work for our clients. So, we had one client have the floors damaged in their place. The shower glass wall broke. Okay, well, we just put a claim in, boom, paid for it. Airbnb paid it $10,000.
And
No questions asked, because we're really good at what we do, and we upcharge it. It's taking us time to do this. So, one, we're going to try to make a little bit of money off this, and we want to make sure our client gets paid off this. This is an inconvenience. So, really, if it was only $7,000 to repair it, we got them 10. Things like that.
And we want to make sure our ratio stays well too, so that our clients get the best service possible, right? So, as we see that our operations are expanding in a particular area, we would even put an operations manager locally in that area to make sure everything's running smoothly. But in the meantime, we make sure that the team that we have here locally that does all the guest communication studies on the area that property is in, so that when we're speaking to a guest, the guest has no idea that we're not local, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
I like it. So
That answered that amazingly.
I'm looking that we have like about 15 minutes left. So what I want to do is, and I always get a lot of grief about this thing, is I want to back up and get, so normally at the beginning of the podcast, I'm going to do it towards the end. I want to get like a full story of you guys. Like, I feel like we've been around each other a lot, but I don't feel like I know the full background of Cameron and Gary. Like, I want to know
Where you're born, what's your blood type.
what your shoe size is, what size shirt you wear. No, but I want to know.
Well, yes,
13.
These are Chief shoes. Thanks for listening.
No, I want to know kind of the background of like the come up of what led you to this spot. Like before you started RealBnB, what's the story before?
I am just the type of person that I always want, and my wife gives me grief on this. I just always want, and my mom too. It's ADHD. Just pick something. Why are you always over the place? But I always drive for more. Like, I guess I don't want to say I'm never satisfied. It's just like I hit a goal and then it's like, okay, what can I do to get to the next goal? that I wasn't looking at before, and the next goal, and the next goal. You know, I've always been in like sales positions or management positions throughout my like almost whole career. Like I went right into management. Like it's like I skipped the front line, went into management. It was like crazy. Whether it was at Walmart or Sprint or T-Mobile, I've been in always some type of management position or just leadership position where it's just like, okay, like sales. How can I be the best? Oh, they opened up outbound. Okay, I want to go to outbound. Oh, make $7,000 a month of commission. Sweet, sign me up. Things like that. Like in yeah, you know, I just like to keep going. I like to success. I like to just, you know, take care of my family. I want to give my kids things that I didn't have. I grew up single mom. You know, it's just she's working all the time, and you know I'm at home or I'm going to school. You know, I've always just been the type of person that's just like, you know, I want to give my kids a better life. I want to be able to take them to Disney World. Still, I've never been to Disney World. Tried to go this last year when I was in Florida. Like, if anybody listening to this, you need to get the tickets in advance apparently because it's a by appointment. Who knew? I got there and I was like, you know, let's surprise the kids. Let's go to Disney World. Go online, look it up. Oh, can't go. Dang, just came all the way to Florida. But I took them on a cruise and things like that. So I've been very, grateful for that. And I just want to give my kids and my family experiences that I've never experienced. I want to travel. I want to do experiences. Well, guess what? You can't do that working a 9 to 5. You can if you hit like a director, but that's like, who's going to do that? So you got to go and start your own thing, do your own thing, like real estate to get to financially free.
Yeah. There's a lot of stepping stones to that, and I speak to everyone all the time on like how valuable your time is, and those memories are more valuable than money. That too many people, like you look at guys that I was watching a video the other day on Alex Hormozy, and he was talking about if he came to the age of like 55 and they said you can spend every single dollar that you have and we'll put you back at 32 with no money. He goes, any person you know that is filthy, stinking rich at 55 will spend that. They'll give every single dime they have to be 32 again, to be 28, or to be 25. But it's like when you see people that are younger, they struggle so much like, okay, I can't spend this money. Like, go for it. Like, I tell anybody all the time, go for it. Like, because you're going to get those memories. Like, I look at 2.5 years of what we've done and the memories that have came with it is worth every single dollar. Like, every single day is worth all of it.
There's something my wife is trying to get me to buy right now, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so expensive.
You should say it.
Just do it.
Do it.
What is it?
So my kids, my oldest son's favorite band is Imagine Dragons. And my middle child, his favorite band is AJR. Well, it just so happens my mom lives in Wisconsin. And they're both going to be having a show together in Wisconsin.
It's meant to be.
Next year.
You can stay at the Airbnb you guys
It's
have
like
done.
$300 a ticket.
Right.
Do it. Do it. Like,
I'm like,
But
dang.
don't break your kid's heart and tell them they don't compare to Lincoln Park.
no, but
So it's like things like that. I am going to do it, though. They don't know it yet, but I am going to do it. I'm going to drop the $300 a ticket. They get to see both of their bands.
Well, if they
AJR is
listen to
opening
this
for Imagine
next
Dragons.
Monday.
but how old are they?
Block.
How old are they?
10 and 9.
10 and 9. They are going to remember that for a lifetime.
Exactly.
Like, and you look at those things that's there's no price tag on that. There can't be. And I think that's what makes the difference on so many things that's why you do what you do with manning all these properties while doing all this stuff is for that exact reason.
Exactly. Give them experiences that they'll remember for life.
Yeah.
You said.
But now we got Gary over there.
Oh.
He's been contemplating.
What do I want to share?
He's like, yes, I get to go second.
I mean, no, there's a lot of commonalities there, though. So, I mean, I grew up probably borderline hillbilly in the south part of the Ozarks in Arkansas. Spent some time in Louisiana. Spent a lot of time in Texas, which I'm actually probably in the very near future Probably going to go back to. So I've lived in several places. But you know, to kind of echo what Cameron said, I've always been one. I was raised by a single mother, and I've always been one that was been raised to not be complacent, to always strive to do better. And I've seen a lot of memes that I relate to recently that talk about, you know, we're not competing with anybody, right? Your only competition is yourself. And if you can wake up tomorrow and say that you're better than you were yesterday, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's financially, whether it's a relationship, whatever, if you could wake up tomorrow and say that you're better than you were yesterday, that's what the true definition of success is, right? And that's what I strive to do. Like, whatever I accomplish today, tomorrow, I want to accomplish 2 times more than that. And it doesn't necessarily mean in the same thing. So, like, this Airbnb, it's great. It's my heart. It's my soul. It's my business, right? But any wise investor will tell you, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So if another opportunity arises for us to be able to say, hey, you know what, Cameron, you focus on the B&B and I'll focus on this, or vice versa, or you know what, let's both tackle this. That's what I'm looking for, that next thing. And to your point, it doesn't even have to be something different than STR. I think the fact that we're now getting into this different level of clientele and home that would be able to present different opportunities is that next amazing step. Because, you know, once we prove that it can be done and that money can be made, I think that this person that we're working with is not only going to do more, but, you know, people have circles of people that are just like them, right? So he's going to tell his friends, his family, and so forth. And so that's kind of where I'm at.
I like it. And one of the things you said in there is getting better every day. That's something I live by. And you can walk up to my desk. I have a whiteboard thing that sits right in front of my desk. On the top of it says you versus you. Like, the only person I ever compete against is myself.
Sure, exactly. Yep.
And I live by that. I live by competing against myself. Like, what did I do today to better my life from yesterday?
Exactly.
And
there's nothing wrong with, you know, I hear people like, oh, you want this, you want that. It's not that I want it. I just want to become a better person. I want to have a better life for my family and my kids. There's nothing wrong with that.
And that's just a benefit along the way.
Exactly.
And that's when you're looking at those things, too many people look at it just as a business side. And like, we have a coaching group also that I work with a lot of people. So many people get focused on success in business alone that they end up losing success that they have in other places. That you may have a phenomenal marriage and a great home life, and you get so focused into success in business, you end up wrecking that home life. And it's like, you may have a whole group of friends that's a great circle of friends that you need to be around. You get so focused in business that you lose those friends, or you get so focused in your marriage that you lose those friends. And it's like, there's such a balance across all these different forefronts of happiness that you need to have friends. You need to have a great significant other, a family, a business, progression in business. I feel most people find happiness in progression. People don't like being stagnant. Like, a lot of people nothing in life is right when they're stagnant. Mm-hmm. To where that 1% better, going to the gym every day, like doing all these different things, being the best version of yourself you can be all the time, I feel is like such a huge factor. And it's something that, I don't know, I feel like we all kind of hit that same button, that we're all looking for that, like, one step better, I feel I'm always happier when those things are all happening and they're clicking.
Speaking of gym, you did say that you were going to start covering like the memberships of the Chiefs gym that just opened up here at the Plaza, right?
Yep. I heard that too.
I think you guys have bad hearing aids in.
I mean, I do have.
You
bad
guys were
hearing.
sold faulty hearing aids. I think we should go after the company that sold
Hey, I was jumping on with you guys. I'm down.
No, but I think that very much, like, I mean, I think you guys hit all of it. I think you hit what you guys are doing business-wise is crazy cool. I'm always very intrigued with it. And I feel like it's growing like crazy. And if you can double business year over year, I mean, that's a business model that works. And time to get up.
Was that you?
Yeah, it was. Without having all of our staff around here, I had to make sure I had to keep an eye on time. Normally we have a time person. No, but I think on that, once again, your guys' business is killing it. I'm very thankful you guys came on the podcast. Very much enjoyed this. We're gonna make Dre hit the button. But we will tag everything below. So below the video we'll have all the links for the RealBnB.
We're going to have our own podcast soon.
Oh, yeah. Drop in the news here. The RealBnB will be starting their own podcast hosted by Moss Marketing Group that we will be running here in the very, very, very near future.
Very near.
Very near. So stay tuned for that. Any final thoughts?
No,
thanks for having us, man. It's been
absolutely.
It's been awesome.
Thanks for being here. So that's going to wrap up the M3 podcast today. We are in the office solo, so I kicked Dre off the couch, and he is going to be Key Dre.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.